أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum dear students. I hope all of you and your loved ones will be doing fine and in good health. Today's lecture would probably be our last lecture. Excuse me. Would be our last lecture for this semester, and as I have informed you earlier that from the next week your exams would start, so you all are better advised to prepare for your exams in the best possible way and utilize the remaining time in an efficient way. And again, I would like to remind you about the research assignments which you all are supposed to submit by the end of the final term exams, and nobody would be given extra time for the submission of your research assignments for the sessional marks. And as far as the instruction of for the assignment is concerned, those have been mentioned clearly in one of my previous lecture speeches. So pay proper heed to this message and work on your research projects according to the given instructions. Okay, now we will talk about our today's discussion, and it would involve the end of the Cold War and the new world order which was established after the closure of the Cold War. In the last lecture we discussed about the same topic, and we discussed few things which occurred or which led to the closure of the Cold War. And in our today's lecture we will try to summarize this whole topic, and that would be the end of our lectures for this semester. Okay, before getting into today's discussion, I would briefly like to highlight the last lecture's discussions, and where we were talking about the change of leadership that played a crucial role that led to the closure of the Cold War along with other elements. So while talking about the President Reagan of the United States of America during the 1980s, the Cold War tensions increased as Ronald Reagan pursued vigorous anti-Soviet policy. So the change of leadership played a convincing role in the Cold War era. So, and as far as the Reagan's presidency is concerned, he characterized the Soviet Union as the evil empire. He dedicated massive amounts of money to military spending, to include the Strategic Defense Initiative or Star Wars program. And he also successfully confronted communist challenges in Grenada and Nicaragua. So, and as far as the Soviet leadership is concerned, while the US was spending at levels the Soviets were finding difficult to match, the Soviets were having their own internal problems as well. The Soviets withdrew from Afghanistan in 1989 after 10 years of a failed war, many linked to the US experience in Vietnam. So it was the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and the US involvement in Vietnam. They are characterized as similar experiences, both by many analysts from all over the world, that brought humiliation to both the United States of America and the Soviet Union. As a result of the Soviet failure in Afghanistan, the Soviet economy and those of its Eastern and Central European satellite states were in serious trouble. As far as the leadership of the Soviets is concerned, the Gorbachev, the then leader of the Soviet Union, he came up with economic and political reforms, obviously, which were obviously needed. So Soviet Premier Gorbachev initiated Perestroika, also known as the restructuring or decentralization of the economy, and Glasnost, also known as the opening of the Soviet society to public scrutiny. So these reforms were launched by Gorbachev at that time, and Gorbachev's reforms proved difficult to implement and unleashed hostility from the old order it threatened. Long suppressed criticism and ethnic and nationalistic separatism. So by the summer of 1990s, Gorbachev's reform had spent themselves, and the eventual result of the Gorbachev's glasnost and perestroika and its failure in the Afghanistan, the result was the disintegration of the Soviet Empire. Revolutions broke out throughout Eastern Europe as people overthrew communist dictators in places like Poland, Bulgaria, and Romania, and other countries such as Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia broke apart. And also the Berlin Wall, which came down on November 9, 1989, and eventually the East and West Germany got united in 1990. And another significant consequence of the collapse of the Soviet Empire was the beginning of the disintegrating or the satellite states of the Soviet Republic declaring their independence from the Soviet Union. Also in August, a group of conspirators representing dissatisfied elements of the Communist Party, the KGB, and the military attempted to seize power while Gorbachev was on vacations. Boris Yeltsin crushed the coup but himself replaced Gorbachev later on, and by the end of 1991 the USSR had ceased to exist. So eventually by the end of 1991 the Soviet Union, the empire of Soviet Union was a history. Now we will talk about the end of the bipolar world, which was there during the Cold War era. The demise of the Soviet Union left the United States as the sole superpower or the hegemon of the world. Without the danger of superpower confrontation, the US was now more free to use its military power. In addition, new opportunities for cooperative international efforts would become possible without the bipolar competition. And finally, this new dynamic would be tested when Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990. So, because of the limited time for our lecture discussion, we will not talk about the Iraq invasion of Kuwait, uh, and we will just move with the rest of our today's topic, that is the New World Order, which was created after the closure of the Cold War. Okay, first we will talk about the New World Order. I would like to quote here the President George H.W. Bush when he made a statement on September 11, 1990, that characterized the spirit of the New World Order. He spoke at the occasion in the following words: "We stand today at a unique and extraordinary moment. The crisis in the Persian Gulf, as grave as it is, also offers a rare opportunity to move towards a historic period of cooperation. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, the New World Order, which is the fifth objective is basically the New World Order, can emerge a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace. An era in which the nations of the world, East and West, North and South, can prosper and live in harmony. 100 generations have searched for this elusive path to peace, while 1,000 wars raged across the span of human endeavor. Today, that new world is struggling to be born, a world quite different from the one we have known, a world where the rule of law supplants the rule of the jungle, a world in which nations recognize the shared responsibility for freedom and justice, a world where the strong respect the rights of the weak. So we can analyze, or we can identify the spirit of the New World Order from this very statement of George H.W. Bush, that offers the world with better justice system, and where the rule of law will override the rule of the jungle, and where the nations would recognize the responsibility for freedom and justice, and where the stronger would respect the weaker states as well. Now we will talk about the post-Cold War environment in a very brief way. But Uh, Before we talk about the environment, here I would like to quote the CIA Director James Woolsey, who described the post-Cold War environment by saying, "We have slain the large dragon." The large dragon here he refers to the Soviet Union, but we now live in a jungle filled with a bewildering variety of poisonous snakes. In many ways, the dragon was easier to keep track of. So this was the Cold War environment, which was described by the CIA director James Woolsey, and according the when we analyze the post-Cold War environment, we identify that the Cold War threats were potentially catastrophic, but they were also measurable and somewhat predictable. While the post-Cold War environment was there were no scale to measure the potential catastrophe which could be caused, and it was hard to predict the future. The bipolar structure and the desire to avoid superpower confrontation had provided a certain degree of order and stability. So, during the Cold War era, and because of the confrontation between the two superpowers, there was certain degree of order and stability in the international system, which disappeared after the collapse of the Soviet Union. So the post-Cold War period was much more ambiguous and uncertain, and many new threats emerged. So this describes the various challenges which were there in the post-Cold War environment, and that were the prime focus of the United States of America to deal with at that time. Now we will talk about the international economic challenges and opportunities. Now, when we talk about the post-Cold War era, it included an ever-widening gap between rich industrialized nations, mostly in the northern hemisphere, and poorer agricultural ones, mostly in the southern hemisphere. So the world, which was divided in the second in the Cold War era, and after the closure of the Cold War era, that was categorized into industrialized and non-industrialized world regions, or also the rich states and the poor states. And the north has been associated with the rich industrialized nations, and the southern hemisphere was referred to as poor agricultural ones. The goal, as far as the goal of the poor nation is concerned, it was economic growth, but most lacked the requirements for industrial development. So that was another challenge, another economic challenge that have been brought to light at that time. That can best be described by the following words, that the states trapped, especially in the southern hemisphere, trapped in the cycle of poverty, lack of capital resulting from low production leads to low savings, which in turn means little or no available capital for future development projects. So these were some of the glaring economic challenges put forward by the or that result that were the eventual consequence of the unipolar world. As far as the economic opportunities are concerned, the collapse of the communism in the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe opened up huge economic markets. On the other hand, West Germany's previously booming economy struggled as it tried to integrate the much poorer former East Germany. As we have mentioned in our previous lecture, that the West Germany was much more advanced than the East Germany, which was under the control of the Soviet Union. In 2004, the European Union swelled to 25 members, including the former Soviet republics of Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. These three states are also known as the Baltic states. And after the unification of Germany, Germany moved its capital from Bonn to Berlin. Okay, the last point which we will discuss over here is the emergence of ethnic conflicts and humanitarian crisis in the 1990s. The Cold War structure had kept in check ethnic divisions in many countries and limited military interventions. And the end of the Cold War changed all that. The United Nations Secretary General Boutros Ghali advocated the legitimate involvement of the United Nations in peace enforcement and peacekeeping operations, and President Clinton proclaimed a national security strategy of engagement and enlargement. After the Cold War, the United Nations went from an average of 3 or 4 peacekeeping operations in a year to 13 in December 1992. And in a globalized war, bad things that happen in other countries spread more quickly to our shores. Genocide spawned refugees who destabilize their neighbors, corruption sparks financial meltdowns which rocks the world economy, pandemics hotspot across the globe. Quoting the examples of ethnic conflicts and humanitarian crises in the 90s, Somalia is one such glaring example where various clan leaders struggled for power and plunged the country into a humanitarian crisis. When Yugoslavian republics began to seek independence, terrible ethnic conflicts started. Bosnian Serbs initiated an ethnic cleansing campaign against Bosnian Muslims. Yugoslav Serbs did the same against Kosovo Albanians. So these are some of the examples of the ethnic conflicts and humanitarian crisis which erupted in the 1990s after the closure of the bipolar world and emergence of the unipolar world where the US was facing the sole superpower. So this is all about our today's discussion, and if you have any queries about our today's discussion, please feel free to write your queries to me through our WhatsApp group, and I would be quite happy to answer your queries. And I would like to remind all of you again about the upcoming final term exams of um which will start from the coming Monday. So better prepare for everything, and wish you best of luck. Until then, Allah Hafiz.